The most pressing concern of all is finally addressed in the 8th season of Outlander. Does Faith still exist? For years, we believed that Jamie and Claire's first daughter was lost forever, but now everything we thought we knew is being turned upside down. If you thought season 7 ended with a shocking cliffhanger, just wait until you hear what's coming next. The final season is setting up a story so massive that it could change Outlander history forever, from Faith's possible return to the complicated future of Jamie, Lord John, and William. Episode 1 wastes no time pulling us right back into the chaos. One thing is abundantly clear from the very first episode of Outlander Season 8. Nothing is as it seems. The weight of Faith's loss has haunted Jamie and Claire for decades, but now cracks are forming in the story they thought they knew. When a mysterious letter arrives, Claire, who has always been the rational one, starts to question everything. It's unsigned, the handwriting unfamiliar, but the words send a chill down her spine. She's waiting for you. At first, Claire dismisses it as a cruel joke. Who would engage in such emotional play? Jamie, on the other hand, refuses to believe in false hope. He has carried the guilt of Faith's death for years, blaming himself for not being there and leaving Claire alone during that terrible moment. But when he sees the letter, something shifts in him. He remembers a conversation from years ago, something small, something he had buried under layers of grief. Could it be possible? Could Faith be alive? Or is this just another trick of fate tormenting them once again? The woman who made the cryptic reference to Faith in Season 7 is Francesca. She's still keeping secrets, and Claire isn't letting her off the hook this time. Claire confronts her, pressing for details. But Francesca remains vague. She uses carefully chosen words, making it appear as though she knows more than she wants to admit. She says, "Some things are better left in the past," but Claire resists. If there's even the smallest chance that Faith exists somewhere in this world, whether in this time or another, she has to find out the truth. But what if this truth is more dangerous than she ever imagined? Jamie and Claire's search for answers quickly puts them on a path filled with warning signs. Lord John Grey, always a trusted ally, seems unusually cautious when Jamie brings it up. He is aware of something. He has always been aware of something. But he is also aware that going too far could reveal something far more significant than they had anticipated. He warns Jamie to be careful, to let the past stay buried. But Jamie isn't one to walk away from a fight, especially not when it involves his family. Speaking of Lord John, his relationship with Jamie is about to be tested like never before. After everything that happened in Season 7, it's impossible to ignore the tension between them. Their differences are about to come crashing down as William's future hangs in the balance, and they've always been caught between loyalty, love, and duty. Because William, Jamie's son, though he still doesn't know it, has questions of his own. He's starting to suspect that his entire life has been built on a lie, and he's not the kind of man to sit back and accept it. The question is, when the truth finally comes out, will he stand by Lord John, or will he turn to Jamie? And what implications will that have for the fragile bond that binds these two men, who have each raised him in their own unique ways? If Faith is truly alive, if there's even a small chance that Claire could see her daughter again, what kind of consequences will that bring? Because this is Outlander. Nothing ever comes without a cost. The more Claire and Jamie search for answers, the more dangerous their path becomes. What started as a single cryptic message quickly turns into a tangled web of secrets, half-truths, and whispers from the past. Claire's mind is racing. Every logical part of her says that Faith is gone, that there's no way she could have survived. But the other part, the part that has seen the impossible happen time and time again, refuses to let go. And then another clue surfaces, a name that sends a shiver down Claire's spine: Genevieve Beaufort. A woman with no real history, no family records, and yet someone who has been quietly connected to the Fraser name for years. Why would Claire? She had never paid attention before. However, it is now impossible to ignore. They are met with hesitation, fear, and silence when she and Jamie begin asking around. People who once spoke freely suddenly have nothing to say. The name Genevieve Beaufort carries weight. However, Until Claire finally meets an elderly woman who claims to have seen her, no one will explain why. She's got the eyes of a Fraser, the woman whispers, but she walks like a ghost. Jamie responds right away. He has never believed in unfounded optimism, but something about those words shakes him. He is familiar with that expression, the same one he observed in Bree and Claire on a daily basis. Jamie is aware that they are closer to the truth than ever before if this woman, whoever she is, truly possesses that distinctive Fraser presence. But just as they think they're making progress, Lord John Grey steps in, his warning no longer subtle. He tells Jamie, "You don't understand what you're digging into. If you care about your family, leave." Jamie doesn't take kindly to being told what he can and cannot do, especially not when it comes to his own daughter. When he asks for clarification, Lord John finally admits the truth he has been avoiding. A child existed, whose fate was never officially recorded. He is aware that there were circumstances surrounding Claire's death that were never fully disclosed, but he is unsure if it is faith. The child was taken away before Claire ever had the chance to see her. Claire feels like the ground has been ripped from beneath her. Every painful memory of losing faith, of holding her lifeless body, comes rushing back. But now doubt creeps in. Had she really lost her? Or had someone taken her away before she even had a chance to know the truth? Genevieve Bauer seems to hold the keys to the solutions. And if she truly exists, Claire and Jamie will stop at nothing to find her. But they're not the only ones looking. They have been being observed and followed by someone else. And as they push deeper into this mystery, they unknowingly awaken forces that have been waiting in the shadows for years. Forces that have their own reasons for keeping the truth buried. And if Jamie and Claire aren't careful, they won't just be searching for faith. They'll be fighting to survive. The consequences of their previous actions weigh heavily on Jamie and Claire as they move forward. They feel like they're falling into a trap every time they move toward the truth. But they can't go back now. The name Genevieve Bauer isn't just a rumor anymore. It's a lead, a real person who may hold the key to the impossible. But the deeper they dig, the clearer it becomes that someone doesn't want them to find her. They can't even say her name to anyone they talk to. Others whisper cryptic warnings, while others shut their doors in Jamie's face. And then a letter arrives at Fraser Ridge, unsigned, with just 6 haunting words. "Stop searching or someone will die." Jamie, ever the warrior, refuses to be intimidated. However, Claire knows better than to disregard a threat. She's seen what happens when people in power want to keep their secrets buried. She recalls the dangers of Paris, Scottish betrayals, and American heartbreak. This isn't just about faith anymore. This is about uncovering something that was never meant to be found. After that, a pause. A man in Wilmington, an old doctor with shaking hands and guilt in his eyes, finally speaks. He tells Claire that years ago, a high-born infant was taken from her mother under the guise of a stillbirth. The child was placed in the care of a powerful family, one that had the means to erase records and rewrite history. He doesn't say the name, he doesn't have to. Claire already knows. The Beaumont family, Claire's own lineage. The pieces of the puzzle begin to fit together at once. If Genevieve is alive, then she has been raised not just away from them, but within a bloodline that has worked for centuries to manipulate the course of history. And that means only one thing. Someone with immense power wanted her to stay hidden. Why then? Jamie doesn't take any time off. If this is true, if their daughter is alive, then nothing, not threats, not politics, not even time itself, will stop him from bringing her home. Following Genevieve Bauer's last known location, he and Claire immediately set out for Wilmington. But they're not alone. The moment they step into town, they realize they're being watched. Someone who was always just out of reach, a shadow in the alleyway, a figure in the crowd, a stern warning, not paranoia. When they discover their first real clue, a portrait hanging in a dimly lit estate, that warning turns deadly. Tucked away behind other noble families is a painting of a young woman. Her face is unfamiliar, but her eyes. They are Faith's eyes, Brianna's eyes, Fraser eyes. Claire stops breathing. Jamie's breath catches. But before they can take another step, the doors slam shut behind them. And for the first time since this search began, they realize the truth might not set them free. It might just cost them everything. Before Jamie and Claire can react, a voice cuts through the silence to confront not only Bonnet, but also the very fabric of time itself. The stakes are higher than they ever imagined, and the path ahead is fraught with danger. Claire's mind races, her medical training and knowledge of history colliding with the surreal reality she now faces. If faith is a key to the timeline, she says, her voice steady but laced with urgency, then we need to understand what that means. What is it about her family that gives her such significance? And why would Bonnet, of all people, be involved in this? Jamie's clenched fists remain in place as his jaw tightens. Bonnet's always been a snake, he growls. If he's alive or if his influence is still at play, then we'll need to cut off the head of this serpent once and for all. However, we cannot proceed blindly. We need a plan. Lord John nods, his expression grim. You're right. This isn't just about finding faith anymore. It's about unraveling a web that's been centuries in the making. The group Bonnet is aligned with. They've been manipulating events, people, even time itself to maintain their version of history. Faith's existence threatens that balance, and they'll stop at nothing to keep her hidden. Claire's eyes narrow as she pieces together the fragments of information. If Faith's bloodline is so significant, then it's not just about her. It concerns her heirs and legacy. That means whoever is after her isn't just trying to erase her from the past, they're trying to control the future. Jamie's eyes harden. Then we'll need to move faster than they do. We'll need allies, information, and a way to stay one step ahead. Do you know where we can begin, Lord John? Lord John hesitates, then pulls a small, weathered journal from his coat. This belonged to a man who was once part of this group. He left years ago, but he didn't forget to record some of their secrets. It's not much, but it's a start. There is a location here that goes by the name Khan Namab. It's said to be a nexus, a point where time converges. If Faith is being held somewhere outside of our timeline, this might be where they're keeping her. As she flips through the journal's pages, Claire takes it with a slight trembling in her fingers. The entries are cryptic and contain numerous allusions to time travel, ancient rituals, and the manipulation of historical events. This is more than just a journal, she murmurs. This is a map, a guide to comprehending their time control methods. Jamie moves closer to her, placing his hand on her shoulder. We'll then follow it. Every clue, every lead. We'll find Faith, and we'll put an end to this. Lord John's voice softens, though his tone remains urgent. Be careful. This group, they're not just powerful, they're ruthless. They'll use every weapon at their disposal to stop you, and if they can't stop you, they'll try to turn you against each other. Claire meets Jamie's eyes, the unspoken bond between them stronger than ever. She insists, they can try. But they won't succeed. We've faced worse than this. Jamie nods, his resolve unwavering. Aye, and we've always come out the other side. This time will be no different. As Lord John leaves them to their preparations, Claire and Jamie begin to plan their next move. The journal serves as their compass, with its cryptic entries gradually revealing a course of action. However, the danger grows with each step. Shadows seem to close in around them, and every decision carries the weight of potential disaster. Yet, despite the odds, they press on. Faith, for their loved ones, for the future, because it has never been possible to leave.